Hello, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to Good Sportspersonship and Teamwork, which is the fifth webinar in Tanenbaum's six-part World Olympics for All webinar series. It is based on Unit 5 of our World Olympics curriculum. I'd like to thank the Nissan Foundation and the Pine Tree Foundation of New York for their generous support for this webinar series. Today we'll be using the poll and question features throughout the webinar in order to get input from you, so I look forward to your participation. If you're new to this webinar platform, please note the features on your control panel, which allow you to ask questions and participate in other ways. For one of our activities today, you may find it handy to have a piece of scrap paper nearby. Note that this webinar is being recorded, and all registrants will be emailed a link to the recording soon after the live session ends. I will be reading aloud some of your comments from the question box so that you can hear from one another and your participation can get captured by the recording. My name is Kim Kaiserman, and I'm an Education Program Associate with Tanenbaum. I'm here today with my colleague Liz Jocelyn, who will be helping me to answer your questions. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tanenbaum, we're a nonprofit organization that works to bridge religious differences and combat prejudice. We're based in New York City, and we work in four major areas: schools, healthcare settings, workplaces, and areas of armed conflict. We are a secular and non-sectarian organization, which means that we don't promote or denigrate religion or any particular belief system. I'd like to start the webinar with a pop quiz to see what you know about the Olympic Oath, which is a solemn promise made at the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. So here is our first question. How many Olympic athletes take the Olympic oath at each Olympic Games? One athlete representing all athletes competing, one athlete from each sport representing all from that sport, or each of the athletes? Take a moment to answer. Okay, and next, what do Olympic athletes hold when they take the oath? A gold medal, a corner of the Olympic flag, a model of the Olympic rings, or the Olympic torch? Okay, just another minute. Okay, and our last question. When was the Olympic oath first taken? 1896, 1900, 1920, or 1980? Okay, we'll go over the answers to those questions in just a moment. But first, I'd just like to remind you that, as you know by now, this webinar series is based on our World Olympics curriculum, which uses the inspiring example of the Olympics to develop students' academic, physical, and socio-emotional goals. The curriculum has been updated for this year's Olympics in Rio and is being offered at a discounted price until the start of the Games in August. So Liz is going to send you a link to the curriculum page of our website in case you're interested in ordering. The curriculum is made up of 5 units plus instructions for putting together your own culminating Olympic event. For more details, including the number of hours of instruction, please see the handout entitled World Olympics Units and Activities Chart, which can be found in the handout section of your control panel. Here are the objectives of Unit 5 as well as of today's webinar. You will learn how to help students work together to build inclusive teams in which all members are valued, respected, and encouraged. Help students recognize that each individual contributes unique strengths and skills to their team. And help students explore the concept of good sportspersonship and develop the values and habits of good sportspersons. There are 5 lessons in Unit 5, and we're going to touch on 4 of them in today's webinar. Here they are, along with the approximate number of instruction hours. These lessons are designed to promote respect, inclusion, and teamwork among your students, so they play an important role in preparing students for their final Olympic Games. 3 of these lessons are included in your handouts on your control panel. Okay, so let's go over the answers to our pop quiz. Okay, how many Olympic athletes take the Olympic oath at each Olympic Games? Let's see, 89% of you said each of the athletes, but the answer is one athlete representing all of the athletes. The Olympic oath is a solemn promise made by one athlete from the host country as representative of each of the participating Olympic competitors. A separate oath is also taken by one judge from the host country as a representative of each officiating Olympic referee or other official. Okay, so next, what do Olympic athletes hold when they take the oath? And 63% of you answered the question correctly, a corner of the Olympic flag. The Olympic athlete who is taking the oath holds one corner and the judge holds another corner. And finally, our last question, when was the Olympic oath first taken? Let's see, 33% answered the question correctly, 1920. A call for an oath was actually announced as early as 1906 by the International Olympic Committee president and founder Pierre de Coubertin. The Olympic oath was first taken at the 1920 Summer Olympics in Antwerp, and the first judge's oath was taken at the 1972 Winter Olympics in Sapporo. The wording has changed a number of times over the years. The most recent change took place in 2000 when a clause concerning doping was added. We'll be looking at the current wording of the Olympic oath later in today's webinar. So let's start by looking at Lesson 1 of Unit 5. In this lesson, students explore the idea of a team and play games that build teamwork. This lesson begins with a team spelling bee. You will need 2 sets of alphabetic placards, which are simply large, sturdy pieces of paper on which one letter of the alphabet is written. You may want to make alphabet placards ahead of time, or you may wish to have students create them in class. You will need 8 volunteers from students for this activity, and the rest of the class will act as observers. The observers will take notes on what they noticed during the activity. Have the student volunteers form 2 groups of 4 people each and place a stack of alphabet placards near each team. Tell the teams that you will be calling out words for the teams to spell and that each team member will have to work together to spell them with the alphabet placards provided. You're not going to tell them how to work together or how to demonstrate the spelling of the words. That is for them to figure out on their own as a team. Now call out a word for the teams to spell as quickly as they can. To make it fun, you may want to use words related to the Olympics or words related to teamwork, or both. As long as the words are at the appropriate spelling level, any words will do. You can keep the observers engaged by allowing them to suggest words as well. Play at least 4 rounds. Then facilitate a class discussion that includes the team members and the observers. You can ask questions like these. What was the activity like? How did the teams work together to spell the words? How did the teams decide how to work together to spell the words? Did each team member have a different role, or did all work together as one? What is the definition of teamwork? Through this discussion, encourage students to develop their own definition of teamwork. They might come up with something like this: a cooperative effort of a group of people working together for a common goal. You can enhance the discussion by sharing quotes about teamwork like this one, or other famous insights into the concept of teamwork. Conclude this discussion by asking, what skills are necessary for teamwork? Let's think about this question together. Answer the question in the question box. What skills are necessary for teamwork, and what attitudes are necessary for teamwork? Let's see, someone says listening and communication. What else? Listening skills, compromise, patience, and respect. Those are all good. Cooperation, chemistry for teamwork. That's an interesting idea as well. You can ask the question to reflect on how they used these skills and demonstrated these attitudes in the spelling activity. In the next part of this lesson, students learn and play games that build teamwork. The curriculum includes instructions for several different games. One called Paper Cup Pyramid, in which teams of 4 work together to build Dixie Cup pyramids, is an example. The catch is that they can't pick up the cups with their hands. They have to work together using rubber bands with 4 strings attached to them to pick up each cup together. It's quite a challenge. Another is called the Circle of Laps, in which teams of students link arms in a standing circle and attempt to assume a sitting position all at the same time. And then there's another called Crossing the River, in which teams try to cross from one part of a room to another using stepping stones made out of construction paper. The players have to arrange the stones so that the entire team can get across, coordinating their efforts so that no stones are left empty at any time. Now I would like to give you an opportunity to share with one another. Many of you may already play team building games with students. So in the question box, please name and describe any team building games that you find particularly fun and effective. I'll give you a minute. Please share any ideas you've used in the past that you had success with. Let's see, Emily says, many different tag games work on teamwork skills. That's a good idea. Solving a puzzle is another idea. Thank you, Prima. Anything else that you've used that's been effective? You can enhance your discussion about teamwork with famous examples of teamwork from sports and Olympic history. For example, the Miracle on Ice The U.S. hockey team's victory over the Soviet hockey team at the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid is often cited as one of the great examples of teamwork. The U.S. team was made up of amateur and collegiate players whose average age was only 21, making it the youngest team to ever represent the U.S. in the Olympics. Yet, this group bonded into the cohesive, supportive, hardworking team that managed to defeat the much more seasoned players of the Soviet Union national team, which had won the gold medal in 6 of the 7 previous Olympic Games. So that's a great example to share with students. You can conclude this lesson by asking the class what the word assist means. Explain that on a team, assists are an important concept. When a player on a sports team passes the ball or puck to a teammate, he or she enables the team to score. Both the player who assisted and the player who scored are equally important. You can facilitate a discussion by asking, what are some examples of assists from team sports? What are some examples from everyday life? Students should be able to come up with lots of examples. They may talk about helping another student carry a heavy backpack or helping a younger sibling with their homework. Tell the students that you're going to work together as a group to notice and recognize everyday assists. Have the students make and decorate assist awards. You can use this one from the curriculum or have the students make their own. Encourage the students to give the awards to their classmates when they observe an assist. You can also give students assist awards when you see them help one another. You may even wish to keep a record or chart of assists awarded throughout the year. So moving on to Lesson 2. In Lesson 2, students participate in a skills relay and learn how each member of a team brings different strengths to it. You can begin the lesson by dividing students into pairs and asking them to brainstorm and discuss what they are good at. Then you can facilitate a discussion asking, what activities is your partner good at? Did you learn things about your partner that you did not know before? Are you good at the same activities your partner is good at? And in what ways are your talents similar and in what ways are they different? Based on the discussion, you can design one or more relays in which students work in teams to do 4 of these activities. To include everyone, one activity should be sports related, one should be artistic, one should be academic, and one should be silly. For example, at one station, you may have students do a math problem. At another, they may do a Pictionary question. At another, they may do a balloon toss. And at another, they may shoot a basket. After the students have completed the skills relay, facilitate a discussion, asking, what was it like to work with the other members of your team? Did you learn anything new about your team members? Did your team members help you with some tasks you weren't good at? And most importantly, would you be as successful at the relay if you did it alone rather than as a team? Tell the children that in their final Olympics, they will include games in each of these categories so that everyone can use their talents and skills. Ask the children to brainstorm sports games, arts games, academic games, and silly games that the class will include in their final Olympics. Give them plenty of time to use their imaginations. They should be able to come up with lots of ideas. This discussion gives students an opportunity to participate in the planning of their own final Olympics, and it also teaches them that every game and team member will be equally important in the event. Sometimes there's a perception in schools that athletes are valued more highly than students with other interests and skills. So by placing equal value on non-physical pursuits, World Olympics can help increase the sense of self-worth and belonging among students who engage in and excel at non-physical pursuits, like the arts and academics. Before we move on to the next lesson, let's design our own diverse skills relay together. So in the question box, name one sports game or task you are good at. I see soccer, any other sports or tasks that are sports related, swimming. What else?
We also have field hockey and basketball.
Field hockey and basketball. Okay, I don't see those. Okay. Next question. Name one artistic game or task you are good at. And I think I'll ask Liz to read them off because they're not all coming up on my screen. One artistic game or task you are good at. I see Pictionary. Anything else? Another Pictionary. This is a Pictionary crowd. Okay. And then next, name one academic game or task you are good at. Spelling. Scrabble or math games, Monopoly. Those are all fun. Anything else? Okay. So finally, name one silly game or task you are good at. Let's see, I see slip and slide kickball. I've never even played that. Old Maid, that's a fun one. Freeze dance, water balloon toss. I personally like hula hooping. Let's see, anything else? So Liz, if we were going to design a diverse skills relay for this group, what would be a good relay?
So for sports, we have soccer. For an arts activity, we have Pictionary. For an academic activity, we have spelling. And for a silly activity, we have Old Maid.
That sounds like a lot of fun, and that's a good example of the kind of thing that you could design. You could do different configurations. You can make several different relays and do them with your class, and then use these same kinds of activities for your final Olympics. So moving on, Lesson 4 uses the Olympic oath to teach about good sportspersonship. So you can begin this lesson with a class discussion asking, have you ever performed in front of an audience? How did it feel? How does it feel when people cheer for you? How would it feel if someone booed or was disrespectful? Students are sure to have plenty of responses to those questions. Ask the students to think back to the beginning of the World Olympics curriculum when they discussed the concept of respect, asking what respect looks like, sounds like, and feels like. Remind them that they worked together at that time to create their own agreement of respect. Now tell them that they are going to work together again to apply this agreement to sports and the playing field. Lead the students in a discussion of what good sportspersonship looks like, sounds like, and feels like, writing down their answers on a chart paper or whiteboard. Let's model the discussion together. In the question box, what does good sportspersonship look like? Remember to use very concrete and specific examples. And when you're having your discussion with students, encourage them to use concrete, specific examples. What does good sportspersonship look like? Let's see, high fives, shaking hands after a game. Anything else? Congratulating the other team when they win and not lording it over them when they are the losers. Those are really good examples. Okay, so next, what does good sportspersonship sound like? You can write your responses in the question box. Cheering for both teams when they do well. That's a good one. Saying good game, clapping. Okay, and finally, what does good sportspersonship feel like? Good. Well, students should have no trouble coming up with good examples, just as you all have come up with good examples. Good sportspersonship is passing the ball and playing by the rules, shaking hands, high fives, saying nice catch or are you okay if someone gets hurt. And there's a good feeling of appreciation and team spirit, respect, and support. Through this discussion, the class will work together to create a good working definition of good sportspersonship. It might sound something like this: supporting and respecting each person, even those you're competing against. Here again, you can enhance the discussion with famous examples of good sportspersonship from Olympic and sports history. A great example from history is the support shown by German Olympic long jumper Luce Long, who's pictured on the right, for Jesse Owens, who's pictured on the left. Jesse Owens was his competitor in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. When Jesse Owens fouled in the qualifying round, Luce Long gave him advice that helped him to qualify. When Owens won the gold, Long was the first to congratulate him, and they did a victory lap together. Owens later said, "It took a lot of courage for him to befriend me in front of Hitler. You can melt down all the medals and cups I have, and they wouldn't be a plating on the 24-carat friendship I felt for Luce Long at that moment. Hitler must have gone crazy watching us embrace." A great contemporary example comes from the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. Here's a picture of Kelly Clark, the three-time Olympic medalist in snowboard halfpipe. She is the one on the left. When Clark went to compete in the finals, she found that the halfpipe was in really rough shape. It had developed lots of ruts and bumps during the day, and it was a huge challenge to ride. Her practice went so badly that afterwards she cried in frustration. When she went back to the top to begin the competition, she saw Tora Bright, who was the 2010 Olympic gold medalist. Bright saw that Clark had been crying. Here is what she did in Kelly Clark's own words. "She gave me this enormous hug, then looked at me and said, 'You need one more.' And she gave me another one. It was one of the kindest things someone has ever done for me. We were about to compete, at the Olympics no less, and potentially my biggest competitor of the night was there for me, making sure I was okay. She wanted to do her best, but only if I did my best too. Both Tora and I ended up on the Olympic podium, her in silver, me in bronze, and I credit a big part of my medal to Tora's kindness that night in Sochi. Liz is sharing links with more stories like these about good sportspersonship in recent times and in history. And in the question box, can you share any other great examples of good sportspersonship or teamwork? Anything that you think would be helpful to the other people on the webinar? When looking on the web for this, I found lots of examples. I think you'll be able to find a lot of stories for students that would be very inspiring, and they come from all different sports and all different events in the Olympics. So once students have a strong understanding of sportspersonship, ask them if they know what an oath is. Explain that an oath is a commitment to behave in a certain way or in accordance with certain standards. You can share the example of the Hippocratic Oath, which is the oath that doctors take, promising to do their best to care for all people. Explain that Olympic athletes also take an oath to act in the spirit of good sportspersonship. This is the current version of the Olympic oath, which has the language about doping and drugs. You may prefer to use this older version that does not include that language. It all depends on the age of your students and whether you think that particular discussion would be appropriate for them or relevant for your goals. Tell the students that they're going to work together to create their own Olympic oath or agreement. You can start this activity by asking the students what they believe are important statements that should be included in their agreement. The statements should include principles of sportspersonship they want to uphold during their own games. They can also include specific practices of good sportspersonship that they want to follow, such as shaking hands after each event or saying, "well played." Write all of the statements on the board or on a piece of chart paper. Next, ask the students to put the statements in the order that they would like them to be presented. When the agreement is complete, copy it to a piece of poster board that can be decorated by the whole class. Tell the class that they will read their agreement aloud during the opening ceremony of their own Olympic Games. You can conclude this activity by breaking the students into small groups and having them create and present skits about good sportspersonship and fair play. You can also have the class choose one of the skits to be performed at your opening ceremonies. Now I would like to give you a few minutes to create an oath or agreement for your own program, classroom, or student group. It does not have to be for your final Olympic Games if you don't want it to be. It could be for everyday interactions, or it could be for your final Olympic Games if you're planning to do those. So take your scrap paper, and let me give you just 1 or 2 minutes, and write a brief, it can be a rough Olympic oath for your own group. Okay, hopefully that was long enough to jot down some ideas and create a brief oath. Next, tell me, what values and behaviors does your oath or agreement promote? What are you trying to accomplish through the oath you created? You can write your answers in the question box. Okay, respect for others, pride in one's own behavior. I like that. So it's respect for others and also self-respect. Support, honor, and respect. Let's go team and work together. So teamwork.
And we also have sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship. Okay, so moving on to the last lesson in Unit 5, Lesson 5, Goodwill Gifts. In this lesson, the children create bead bracelets as goodwill gifts and exchange them with their classmates as a way to show their support for each other during the final classroom or school-wide Olympics. You can use this opportunity to review why it's important to support everyone, even those who are not on their own teams in their Olympics. This lesson is actually based on an activity found in this book, Kids Around the World Create by Arlette Brahman. This book includes a variety of multicultural projects that can be done using inexpensive and easy-to-find materials. Through these projects, kids are introduced to dozens of cultures around the world and throughout history. So it's a really interesting book, and Liz is going to send you a link for it. You can begin this lesson by asking students this question: what do you do to get focused for a big event? Let's answer the question together. Is there anything that you do before a big event? It could be a presentation or a sporting event or any other big event. Is there anything you do to get focused? Listen to music. I like that one. Make sure I have all my materials and go over my outline. That's what I do. Have a cup of coffee is also what I do. Make sure to get a good night's sleep and have a good breakfast. Anything else? Any more, any rituals that anybody has? Some people like to take deep breaths, go over my checklist. Some people like to spend a few minutes meditating. Mental imagery, that's similar to meditation. So next you can tell the students that they will be creating and exchanging beaded bracelets as goodwill gifts to share with one another. These beads may help their classmates stay focused during their Olympic Games. The beads students create in this activity are similar to worry beads that are common in many parts of the Middle East and Greece. Many people who use worry beads say they really help them to stay focused. Many people also believe that worry beads came from the prayer beads that are used in many religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Baha'i, and Catholicism. These are beads or knots on a string that help people to count their prayers. Worry beads are not considered to be religious, however, even though they may have come from the idea of prayer beads. We've come to the end of Unit 5, so let's review the takeaways. Teamwork is everyone's responsibility. On a team, everyone's talents and contributions are important. We can build sportspersonship by defining respect together, creating an agreement, and acknowledging all efforts and supporting one another. Now your students should be ready for their final Olympics. Let's give you an opportunity to let us know if you have any questions. Liz will be sharing a link to the SurveyMonkey evaluation for this webinar. As I've said during every webinar, your feedback is really important to us. It enables us to better address your needs and to continue providing webinars free of charge. So we hope you'll take 5 minutes to complete the evaluation. Also be aware if you need a certificate of attendance, one can be downloaded from the handout section of the webinar platform. Thanks so much for your participation today. I hope you'll be able to join us next time for Let the Games Begin, Plan and Execute Your Own Final Olympics. That's on May 19th, 2016 at 12 p.m. And just a couple of other things. I mentioned at our last webinar that I was getting ready to co-present a webinar on April 19th with Teaching Tolerance. So if you are interested in learning more about explaining extremism and addressing Islamophobia in the classroom, you can access the recording of that webinar at this link, which Liz is going to share with you. And finally, I hope you'll go to www.tanenbaum.org to learn more about World Olympics and our other curricula. You can download free lesson plans and other resources. We have reading lists for elementary students and middle school students there. We have our blog posts and articles posted, and also other webinars that we've conducted in the past. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at education@tanenbaum.org, or you can reach out to my personal account, kkaiserman@tanenbaum.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you next time.